start, Courtney.
Beep.
Should we open the hood?
I said beep.
Beep, you're filming?
I'm filming now.
Remember this car?
Yeah, it's
Ouch.
I haven't forgotten. It's been here.
This has been on the channel multiple times. First time it was on here was for Vortex standard turbo. Next time it was here for, might have been other videos, but next big one was we did the XL, some fueling upgrades, stuff like that. This time, engine rebuild, bunch of upgrades, Typhoon turbo, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Clayton, you're staring off into the...
I'm just looking, man. I'm admiring through my eyes and not the camera. You just tell me I'm looking in the camera.
So with that said about the turbos, we're going to do a video after this one comparing the dyno graphs between EQT's Vortex Standard, Vortex XL, and the Typhoon turbo. So you can see how they spool all on the same vehicle. Yes, this most recent version has upgraded engine components. However, the intercooler and basically the intake, most of that stuff is going to be similar between all the runs. So it'll be a very good comparison because they were all on the exact same car. That's not going to be this video. As the title says, we made a bunch of horsepower in this thing and we want to go through, show you some of the dyno runs, show you some of the headaches we've had getting to this point. So let's get to it.
And how awesome is it that this thing looks bone stock? Like sleeper to the max.
If it didn't have the carbon wrap on the mirrors and these things, you would just think it was stock, 100% stock. Even the interior, everything.
Yeah, it's got the full interior backing because before in the previous videos it didn't have the back seats and stuff, right?
The back seat's still out now, but we changed all the fuel pump setup in it, so the back seats and everything will be back in this car. So interior is going to look exactly stock as well. So I'll link the video of the engine build setup above, but to give you guys a quick update for new people that are following along with this video specifically, we did a set of rods and pistons in this. I did upgraded valve springs. It does have stock valves. Did a set of AirP studs in it. I did an AirP crank bolt. Few other little things we would have done along the way, but that's the bulk of it. Obviously we did upgraded turbo. We had to modify the intake ever so slightly to make it fit. The exhaust, it does have a resonator in it still, which is kind of crazy. So the way this car produces power, there's no tricks. We literally, everything the way you see it with full exhaust, intake, everything is the way it happened. Okay, first up, obviously this is a street car, so we're going to tune it with pump gas, 91 octane. There's no water meth kit, nothing like that. First setup will be tuned on 91. Then we're going to drain all the 91 out of it, put E85 in it, and do a full E85 tune with Matt at EQT. So we've already done all the tuning on this. Let's get to a couple of the 91 octane runs. As you will see during the 91 octane runs, we had one run where we had the charge pipe pop off, not uncommon as something was completely new and put together. Then one of the other runs, I think we were probably at around like 430, 440 horsepower on pump gas. And as you would see here, a coolant pipe popped off. And that, on a new build, could easily be just a clamp loose or something like that, but we did a bunch of runs. And for those that know turbocharged engines, usually if coolant is pushed out, that means the head gasket could be compromised. The power on the dyno showed that something was a little bit weird, so I didn't want to chance it at all. And as you'll see, we pulled the engine out of this thing. All right, Mark 7R was on the dyno a couple of hours ago. The last run you probably seen was a whole bunch of coolant on the ground, which indicates we might have a head gasket problem, and with that the engine's already out of the car. So we're going to tear this thing apart, check the head gasket, make sure we don't have any other problems going on with it. Yes, this all can be done in the car, and it's just, I wanted 100% security before putting this thing back together and back on the dyno, so no mistakes to be made. So I just pulled the engine again. We'll go through everything as much as we can before we get it back in the car and back on the dyno. Huge delay taking this whole thing apart, but I needed to verify and make sure 100% that I was confident pushing forward with this thing and also sending it out the door when it was all done. Looking back at it, looking back at the dyno footage, looking back at the graphs, talking with Matt at EQT, looking at the data, I don't think there was anything wrong with it.
Looking at the actual engine.
Yeah, looking at all the hardware, looking at the head gasket, I don't think there was actually a problem with this thing.
Little overcautious.
I was overcautious. And, you know, in my drag car, for example, when we were trying to push that thing years back, I've eaten so many head gaskets in that thing, pushing it to its limit, over timing, just little things that have happened, and I know what it's like to do that. And with the scenario that we had and the bit of data we had, there looked like there was something wrong. So I pulled it all apart, checked everything 100% over, put it all back together and pushed forward. There was no problem, I don't think, unless there was something potentially wrong with the head gasket, but looking at the gasket, looking at the cylinder head, the block, everything was good. I was just being overcautious, and a coolant pipe just happened to pop off. So with that said, pump gas 91 octane, it did 479.95 before we stopped and switched over to ethanol. So again, pump gas 91 octane, crazy to think on our fuel, a 4-cylinder with no water meth or anything like that is making that kind of power. Clayton, you gonna say something?
Nope, just keep rambling.
Keep rambling?
Keep going.
So this would be the highest horsepower 91 octane Volkswagen that we've ever done, for sure. There's nothing else. I mean, obviously, maybe I tuned my drag car or something on 91, which I never would with a giant turbo, but for a very good power band, street car, 91 octane, that's crazy power. Now we got to drain the fuel, switch over to ethanol, show you some of the ethanol runs, and see what this thing really makes for power. Before we get to the final results, which maybe, I don't know if I talked during those runs or not, I can't remember what the footage was.
Well, there was some footage of the actual number on the screen.
Oh yeah, okay, so we're already there, but we were getting to the point where we were kind of running out of fuel. To make it safe, we also put a Precision Raceworks fuel line kit in it as well, just to free up a little bit of fuel. And the end result, 648 wheel horsepower, 495 torque.
Wild.
On a stock looking Mark 7 Golf R.
Like literally, you could drive it. You could drive it all the time.
Yeah. So Clayton and I were talking about this yesterday. It's kind of insane to think like people get into this scenario where they're like, "Oh, I don't want to ruin it. It's a daily driver." Blah blah blah. 100%, you could drive this car every single day. You could give it to your mom. She could drive it. She'd have no idea it made power like this unless you went to pass somebody on the highway.
And literally, what would be the difference of just driving it normal every day? It's not like it's going to wear out quicker or anything like that. You could drive it
every day,
daily,
no problem
back
at all.
forth to work, whatever you want.
100%. So it's kind of insane to see how far we've come in making horsepower in Volkswagen specifically to this level of power in a car that could easily be daily driven every day of the week. It's nuts. So we did probably 22 runs on this thing, quite a bit, not typical for what we would do on this kind of setup, tuning the way that, because EQT's done so many of these cars. But when we had the issue with the head gasket, which we thought was a head gasket, or I thought was a head gasket, I did a bunch of testing to make sure that we weren't having a problem after I got it all back together. And with that said, that scenario, I ate all the cost on that. The customer doesn't get charged for any of that. It was me being super cautious and wanting to make sure everything was 100% on this thing before we pushed it and potentially really caused a problem, or the customer gets out on the road and has a failure or something like that. With that said, Clayton, what else was I going to talk about? Oh, the kind of the mods of it all, for those that haven't caught in the rest of the videos. I already mentioned about the engine kind of stuff. As you can see, it has stock intake manifold, has CTS catch can, CTS downpipe. It has kind of a piece together CTS intake with the inlet that comes with the Typhoon turbo. It has a Tsunami fuel pump upgrade with the fuel pump module. It has upgraded fuel line. It has CTS front mount intercooler. And the clutch I would have done in it was a stage 3 plus Ringer Racing clutch, I believe is what's in this one. It's in the previous video. Too many cars, I can't remember every single thing about them, but the way the clutch feels, the way the car drives, everything, it's nuts to think that this kind of car makes absurd power at this level. Clayton?
I had something and I lost it.
You lost? Okay.
I got something to talk about.
Okay.
What kind of stuff do the people like seeing on the channel? Because there's oftentimes
like platform, you mean?
Yeah, and we even just talked about it like a second ago. There's footage that I have that we may not even use of a car that was a 180 Mark 7.
Yeah, it was a
IS-38
180 Mark 7 Golf that we did an IS-38 turbo upgrade on with an automatic transmission. It was the first time I ever done an IS-38 on an automatic. You would have seen IS-20s on the channel before on automatics, which have held fine. Not sure how the IS-38 on the auto is going to do, but looking at the dyno numbers, it looks like the transmission's holding it back, to be honest, so it'll probably live just as long with the IS-38 versus the IS-20. Anyways.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that we shoot sometimes that it's like it's either
never makes it to
the channel because there's not enough. I wasn't here to film more, or Dave was busy with other stuff, or whatever it may be. So, but if you guys mention that maybe you want to see more of that stuff, and it's here, maybe we can put something quick together, even just to view if it's interested in it.
What platform do you like to see the most? Let us know in the comments below. On that note, I'm sure this customer is going to be amped to get this thing back. It's made a ton of power. It's going to be a ton of power on the street comparatively to what it was. As mentioned probably earlier in the video, one of the next videos we're probably going to do, it'll be a little bit shorter, but we're going to compare all of the dyno results and how the turbos spool and everything based on all EQT's turbos on this specific car. So those that are looking for turbo upgrades, it'd be worth looking out for that video. If you have any questions or comments about this specific car or any other car on our channel, be sure to ask below. Thanks for all the support. See you in the next video.
Like and subscribe.
Coolant coming out, not great.